Ah, Left 4 Dead 2. Catalyst for all of our childhoods and one of, if not the greatest zombie horde shooters of all time. Sadly, Valve doesn't know how to count to 3, and we have no choice but to deal with it. But hey, at least they decided to bless us with this gem of a game. Oh shit, wrong clip. Remember it as being amazing, but the game is really old. Left 4 Dead 1 was released in 2008, and Left 4 Dead 2 was released a year later in 2009. So that's why I'm here, and probably why you are watching this video. I'm going to be showing you if Left 4 Dead is still worth playing in 2024. By the way, I'm going to be playing and talking about both games, and may mention Back 4 Blood strictly as a comparison. I will not be talking about Back 4 Blood in depth, just as a way to show the strengths of Left 4 Dead. Anyways, before we get started, we should talk about some backstory as to how Left 4 Dead came to be. It all came to a Counter-Strike mod called Terror Strike. In this mode, you counter terrorists, were given knives, and could run towards you, trying to slice you into a nice pie. You had guns and just had to go crazy and enjoy yourselves. The workers at Valve saw this mod and would play with each other from time to time, having a blast while doing it. Eventually, Gabe Newell, the, leader of Valve, whatever the fuck you want to call it, realized the potential of this game, being an official and refined release. So they decided to take the modders on board that developed the first concept, Left 4 Dead. Note that, now that this little history lesson is over, let's talk about the game itself. If you want a bare bones description, then Left 4 Dead is a co-op survival horde shooter where you and 3 others go from place to place trying to escape the apocalypse in any type of transportation, all the while shooting zombies, special infected, and each other throughout. It's a good concept, which was the main reason why Left 4 Dead was a smash hit. It had 4 characters, all with their own personality traits, comics describing their backstories, as well as believable personalities. This was one of many, and I mean many, reasons this game took off. Nobody ever really hated a single one of the 4 characters, and always preferred one or the other, but they wouldn't get mad at you because of your opinion. Unless they were a redditor who believes that they are the supreme ruler of all, who cannot do wrong. Anyways, the characters I'm talking about are Bill, the grizzled war vet who is just ready for another fight, Lewis, the happy-go-lucky worker who is always positive and somehow knows how to make a pipe bomb, Francis, the cool biker dude who's the strong man and hates everything, and finally we have Zoe, the college girl who spent most of her time researching on zombie movies. Luckily, the research would be important. Anyways, the other thing going for Left 4 Dead is replayability. You see, Left 4 Dead has a big RNG modifier, nicknamed the Director. It's adaptable, and let me explain how. You see, this director can look at exactly how good you were doing in the game, and in turn, will make the game easier or harder depending on your skill. For example, let's say you're messing up a lot, going down a lot, losing resources, running low on ammo, all that stuff, maybe lost a teammate. The game will go easier on you, spawn more pills and medkits, make less hordes and specials come, maybe even less boss infected. But if you were speedrunning through the place, killing every single zombie and special in your way, not even using your items, then there will be more hordes and special infected, maybe even some boss infected, and they will spawn less items for you to use. Also, the director can spawn items in random places off the path, rewarding the players for exploring off the main path. This is something that I don't really see many games doing nowadays, even kind of like in Back 4 Blood. There are items off the path, but it doesn't really reward you because you just stick with the gun that you can buy because, yeah. Speaking of, you don't buy guns, you just find them. The way that they have it is you're gonna have a favorite gun, but you're still willing to trade it out for another one if you run out of ammo and you can't find any more. Because you know it's gonna be worth it because all guns are fun to use in this game. I should mention really quick before I get back to the director, the gunplay in this game is just amazing. All the guns feel so realistic and they shoot so nice, it feels so fun to use them. Especially some of the melee weapons too, like machetes, knives, axes, bats, chainsaws, guitars, a fucking frying pan. All of them work in tandem. Anyways, let's get back over to the director. You see, the director, as from all the things I said before, spawning in different enemies, being adaptive with the difficulty, it's just one of the main reasons that Left 4 Dead was so critically acclaimed. But we should go on to the enemies now, shouldn't we? Now, the zombies themselves are what you are mainly shooting and killing, stabbing, whatever you want to do. Easy in small numbers, harder in big numbers, as well as slowing you down when they hit you, almost to a crawl, so you basically have to evade or kill them all. You know how it is, classic zombies. But they're also so varied. Different tones, outfits, genders, looks, as well as their animations being subtly different, showing that they have remnants of their human selves. Throwing up, sitting, fighting with other zombies, making the world feel more lively but distraught as well. You know that these people were human, and you know that they retained the humanity. They may still be trapped inside there, but right now it's either you or them, and it's going to be them. Also, they have really good gore simulations too. The people at Valve decided it would be a good idea to make separate animations for getting shot with weapons in different areas, different calibers, as well as melee weapons. Chunks of zombies blow off, organs and blood everywhere. You can just see the decay and the formation of them. It's disgusting, but awesome as well. It makes you feel powerful and in control. But the game would be too easy if there were only common infected, which brings us to the special infected. Three of them inside of the original Left 4 Dead are Boomer, Smoker, and the Hunter, as well as two separate boss infected named the Witch, Tank, and Tank. Let's start with the Boomer. He can spew vomit on people, which kind of blinds them and spawns a horde that fixates on them, making them a target, only savable by their teammates protecting them until they can get their bearings. Then we have the Smoker. They have the ability to use their long hentai tongue to wrap survivors up and pull them towards them, doing damage and only being savable by a teammate shooting the tongue, or the Smoker. He may be low health, so he's kind of squishy, but since he is able to pull survivors towards him, separating them from the group, and that means that he can strategically choose areas that could get a survivor fully killed or hide him, I'd say it makes up for it. Anyways, the last of the special infected is the Hunter. He is small and quiet, as well as being very low health. He's also pretty much looking like a regular zombie, so he can blend in with crowds pretty easily to hide. Basically, he'll also yell whenever he leaves for somebody, but if he gets to you, he will do massive fucking damage, beating the absolute shit out of you until a teammate saves you, either by shoving or killing the Hunter on you. Notice something about all of these special infected? They all incentivize you to stick together and protect each other from the specials. When someone strays from the group, they are an easy target, making the job easier for any specials in the area. So this just incentivizes teamwork, which is another thing that modern zombie shooters don't do. You see, in games like COD, Valorant, Apex, they all have teamwork elements, but they don't force you to actually work as a team. It's just multiple people with the same goal, but different ways of getting to it. Same thing for Back 4 Blood too. It tries to incentivize teamwork, in which it kind of does. The card system and a lot of other things in the game nullify it, because in Back 4 Blood, there's a currency system that lets you buy weapons. That's bullshit because it takes away from the fact that Left 4 Dead just lets you find the weapons. And since you all share the goal, it just keeps a very big non-teamwork element. Just whoever gets to that box first and is able to buy everything out is now the main person in the team. And it just takes away from the teamwork. Plus, the card system fucks it up as well, since you can escape from grapples, which is the one thing that Left 4 Dead had going for it to incentivize teamwork. You had to stick together with people inside of Left 4 Dead, or else they would grab onto you and you couldn't get away from them until you were down, and then you're fucked. With teammates, they can save you, but whenever you can just save yourself, it just takes away from the co-op, which just makes Left 4 Dead even more special. Anyways, like I was saying before I got sidetracked, we should probably go and talk about the boss infected. See, let's start with the Tank. He's the most recognizable, you know, gigantic muscles, walks on all fours, bombastic entrance music. He basically takes up an entire fucking doorway too. The whole 9 yards. See, the Tank is a gigantic man, and with that, he has a massive health pool as well as massive damage. He has around 8,000 health on a standard difficulty, and he can deal massive damage in two main ways. The first way is just punching you. It does like 15 to 20 damage, as well as sending you flying. They're also able to pick up a rock from the ground, like straight from the ground, just like that, and chuck it at a survivor from a distance, and knocking them down and also does decent damage. You see, the main way to counter the Tank is either with fire or by leading him to an open area, as he is just slower than a survivor at full speed. So if you're in an open area where he can't hit you, you can just mow him down, and that's that. And let's just move on to the second special boss infected, the Witch. basically a complete opposite of the tank. Her theme is a small piano that just becomes more and more creepy the longer it plays. The witch herself is just a small girl that's seen crying, very vulnerable, the opposite of the tank. But don't let the crying fool you. It's just trying to lure survivors near it. If you shoot the witch, stand near her for too long, or shine your flashlight on her for too long, or just look at her the wrong way, she will get agitated. And she will get more agitated the longer you stay by her. And if you're there for too long, she'll aggro. She'll chase you down to the ends of the fucking earth at insanely fast speeds. If she catches you, she will insta-down you, and then it will attack you heavily, lowering your bleed-out health extremely fucking fast. The only way to stop it whenever it actually runs up onto you is to just throw everything you got at it and try your best to avoid it. Another way to counter the witch is by crowning, which is a community-made term that people have used for insta-killing a witch with one shotgun shot that's well placed around the neck, head, or top chest area. And if you have all the bullets in the crosshair, like all inside of the witch, if you fire it, it'll have all the shots go into her and kill her instantly. Anyways, like I was saying before I got soundtracked again, you can already assume just how fun this game sounds, just as it is. But now we have to get into the campaigns, or the missions, if you will. They each take around 30 minutes to an hour, and they all have different ways of starting and ending. Campaigns in order are No Mercy, where the group is on a hospital roof and decides to go to Mercy Hospital to evacuate via helicopter. Crash Course, where the helicopter crashes and they have to make their way to an armored truck that they drive out of. Then Death Toll, where the survivors make their way to a lighthouse to escape on a boat. Dead Air, where they make their way from the greenhouse to the plane. Blood Harvest, where they make their way from a military evac truck to go to a base. And finally, The Sacrifice, where the survivors make their way to a bridge. But the generator stops working midway through. With 3 tanks and a horde of zombies coming through, Bill, the grizzled war vet, sacrifices himself for the group to turn the generator on. And then, after doing that, he has to turn more generators on instead of Dead by Daylight, all because of that. Bill didn't die for this. Anyways, as you can see, some of the campaigns don't really connect, and that's because they originally were not meant to. You see, the devs just wanted to place the survivors in different scenarios and just have them escape them. But eventually, they wanted a story and decided to continue the narrative between some of the campaigns. They only did this for Blood Harvest and Sacrifice, and they did it in a way of a comic, explaining what happened at the military base and how they got to the Sacrifice's location. Now, people loved this game when released, and rightfully so. Left 4 Dead 1 was an amazing game whenever it released, but eventually, Valve decided to make Left 4 Dead 2. By the way, I should mention, this was made 100% by Valve. No Turtle Rock or anyone else. This one was like a passion project. Also, in the midst of making Left 4 Dead 2, or kind of after it maybe, Turtle Rock and Valve decided to split ways. Valve keeping the rights to Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, and Turtle Rock can go off to make their own thing. Anyways, back to the games. This is the Left 4 Dead game that basically everyone knows and loves, but it wasn't always like this. Originally, this game was announced and released to a lot of backlash, mainly due to Valve releasing a game and then separating the community by making a second game, making the first one almost completely obsolete, as well as making the series seem like just a big cash grab. But I guess Valve took the criticism to heart. Oh, so you don't like sequels? Fine, be that way. And they never made a third game ever again. Anyways, Left 4 Dead 2 was basically the only game that you would need to play out of the two. It was better in every way to the first game. It had more infected, common and special infected, 4 new characters, an entire new story to follow where almost all the campaigns are loved as well as the characters. They also follow up with each other so the whole game fits into one big narrative, but each campaign still felt so distinct and different. The new characters we have now are Coach, the plus-size cheeseburger lover man, my personal favorite, and also the unofficial leader of the gang, aside from Nick, the other quote-unquote leader. He's a big prick in the first campaigns, being self-centered and cynical, but you can tell as you go up through other voice lines that he does grow to like the other survivors, and even though he doesn't show it, you can tell he cares. Next up is Ellis, the young redneck mechanic who is extremely naive but also extremely funny and always has a good story to tell about Keith. He sees the Apocalypse as a fun game and loves all the other characters, even Nick, even though Nick seems to hate Ellis the most, calling him inbred and shit. And finally, Rochelle, The news reporter, who is the moral support of the group, tries her best to stop and avoid fights in the group and keep everyone in good spirit. Also the most hated of them all for some reason. Together, they have to fight the infected we have talked about previously, including uncommon infected, which are in each of the campaigns we talked about previously. You see, Left 4 Dead 2, they decided to make each campaign unique by adding some uncommon infected that will have a small buff to them. If you want some examples, inside of Hard Rain, some of the construction areas in the map have construction worker zombies. If you throw a pipe bomb, they won't be able to hear it because they have earmuffs on. Or in Dark Carnival, there are clown zombies that spew water inside their idle animation, their shoes and no squeak if you hit them, and they also alert zombies with their squeaky shoes. See, it's just funny and it gives more character than the zombies there even was before. Anyways, you get it. Like I said, you get it. There's also 3 new special infected focusing on separating survivors so they can't counter everything by staying together. These basically affect big groups, forcing them to spread out so the other infected can take place. Okay, let's start with the jockey, a small little fuck that I hate with all of my might. He jumps on your back and essentially rides you like a horse, leading you to wherever he wants. Whether it be off a cliff, into fire, or a spitter spit, he can be spotted before jumping by their uncontrollable maniac laughter. Also, speaking of, the spitter. This one's a kind of lanky horror-looking zombie that spits acid at the player. This acid deals more damage the longer you stand in it, but they have neon green drool so you can see them from afar, so it's not really hard to avoid it and kill them beforehand. Finally, the Charger, the only people in history to not just beat their meat, but defeat it too. They have big health pulls and a big body and arm, with a small wimpy arm too. They will charge into you, grabbing you and slamming you into the ground every 1.5 seconds, doing around 15 damage, as well as knocking anyone else in their vicinity down to the ground, stunning them shortly. But they can't change direction when charging, and are a big target, so it's not really too hard to counter them. Anyways, this game was released with 5 campaigns. The first one is Dead Center, where the survivors miss a helicopter, so they decide to get off of the burning building they're in and get to a helicopter evac in the mall. Probably one of the most iconic. Dark Carnival. You see, in the last campaign, they escaped inside of a sports car that was on display in the mall. Eventually, they found a roadblock of cars, forcing them to go on foot, eventually leading them over to a carnival. A helicopter flies over them while they're traveling, so they decide to go where the Midnight Riders had a concert going, because they were just lucky, I guess. They decided to set it up and play it to attract a helicopter over, allowing them to escape. This one is by far one of the most popular campaigns and one of my favorites as well because it's just so badass to be playing rock music as you're killing zombies. Anyways, next up is Swamp Fever, where the helicopter pilot from the last part turns into a zombie, and Nick has to shoot him, crashing the plane into a swampy area while doing so. The survivors are forced to make their way through, eventually finding a mansion with a radio. They contact the boat to save them, hold up the horde, and escape on the boat. And now we have Hard Rain. The boat owner, his name is Virgil by the way, sends the crew out to get him gas, forgetting to give him a signal, which was like a flare. They make their way over to a station with the gas, and then they return over to the start point, which is different from the other campaign, dealing with extremely hard rain, flooding the area, as well as a lot of witches. I mean a fuck ton of witches. They make it back, turn restaurant lights on from the beginning area so they can signal Virgil and escape. Finally, the pair. Virgil can't take the group any further, so the group is dropped off in a towny-looking area. Eventually getting bombs dropped on them by the military, they make their way over to a bridge with a dead military guy with his radio going off. The survivors answer and get a helicopter out that's fit to transfer carriers into the VCs. After a mad dash across the rugged bridge, they make it to a helicopter, just before the bridge gets blown up. As I mentioned in the last sentence, the survivors aren't fully immune. You see, they just don't have any symptoms, but they still carry the disease, infecting anyone close to them, which is really cool for both. Anyways, after this, there were a couple of DLC maps that we're gonna have to go over. One of these DLC maps added, or DLC packs I should say, makes all the other ones obsolete. The DLC were free on Steam, but on Xbox you have to pay there. I love Microsoft. Anyways, the first DLC to be released was the Pacific. where Left 4 Dead 2 survivors get blocked by the bridge the Left 4 Dead 1 survivors were on, which is where they officially meet. Make their way around, then, with the help of the Left 4 Dead 1 survivors, they lower the bridge so they can drive off. There's different ways to interpret the name as them passing through or stuff like that. I like to see it as them passing the torch to the Left 4 Dead 2 survivors, officially ending their run through the place so they can go to an island and live inside of Tahiti with names, just like Dutch Road. Anyways, it's a pretty cool campaign. It has its own uncommon infected, and also it has a nice look at it. It's also pretty short as well. Anyways, next up, they decided to just say fuck it. They added all of the Left 4 Dead 1 campaigns and characters into the game, essentially making the first game obsolete. Because why play it whenever you can just go to Left 4 Dead 2 and play the exact same thing with more guns and infected? This pissed people off, but eventually they grew to the episode. Anyways, then they found a community map on the workshop called Cold Street, and they decided to add it to the main game as a non-canon campaign. Probably should have added David instead, but I don't know. Finally, they added the Last Stand campaign. This is based off of a survival mode inside the original Left 4 Dead, and they turned it into a campaign. This is part of the Last Stand update, which had some backlash to it as it added CS weapons, I believe. And it was alright, I guess. Anyways, now I should mention the other mode that was made for Left 4 Dead before the campaign mode. This is actually the mode that Left 4 Dead was based around, and that is Versus mode. In this mode, there are 8 players, 4 player survivors, and 4 player special infected. The goal is to get points by going further in the campaign than the other team, all while trying to kill them all. It was meant to be a fun mode, but it made the community almost completely unbearable. It is still a good mode, don't get me wrong, but the community takes it way too seriously. Especially considering you don't even gain anything for winning except bragging rights and achievements. Like, it makes no sense. But every fan base has its bad apples. I haven't really had too many bad run-ins with people instead of versus, but you're bound to have some bad run-ins. But just remember that it's meant to be enjoyed. It's not meant to just be, you know, taken that seriously. Anyways, this is still one of the best parts of the game. Anyways, there are also other modes like Survival, Scavenge, and Realism, but I don't feel like explaining them. The script is already going to be like 4 to 5 pages, and I don't want to make it longer. There are also mutations, which are basically random fun game modes that switch things up. Like Tank! They're all special with tanks, or lone survival, where they're only special infected and you. I won't explain more than that for the previously stated reasons. Let's mention another reason that people keep coming back. The workshop. People can use this to mod their game and have so many new things. New HUDs, campaigns, remodels, voice lines, everything. There are so many new things in the workshop that basically come out every minute, so it's never a hassle to play something new. And also, you can make a mod pack inside of this, so you can also get the same mods as your friends and then just unleash mayhem. Imagine Imagine custom maps. Imagine every single zombie being SpongeBob. Imagine Larry the Lobster as the fucking Charger and Big Smoke as the Boomer. It's just amazing. You can make the characters anything you want. It just fits perfectly. And it kind of contributes to the undeniable presence that this game will have in the community. Back 4 Blood doesn't have this because they don't want their workshop for some reason. They explicitly stated that they wanted it to just be the vanilla campaigns and that's it. Which is honestly kind of bullshit. The game died for a reason, that's probably because of no workshop. Anyways, I feel like that's it. I don't really have anything much else to say. If I missed anything, let me know. But now that everything here has been stated, why was the Left 4 Dead series not as the best zombie games ever made? Well, you see, it all comes down to the original concept. Likeable and realistic characters, replayability, overall fun factor, as long as the theme of it all. It made it seem like a movie. It felt like whenever you were playing through it, you were the star of your own movie. There's music in the game that like fits every single scenario because they have it all just different. And you have main character moments almost every single campaign that you play. Running for the bubble, everybody else is about to die. Saving your friends when they're just about to die. Making the mad dash over to turn off the alarm while your friends are holding them off for you. It feels amazing, like you are a movie. Every single campaign has some kick-ass posters with cool taglines as if it's a movie, and they all have end credits telling you how many zombies were killed, and the way that a movie would. With these people were not harmed in making this movie, it does that but sells the zombie count. That's amazing. That's also another thing that affects it. Other games don't have that same thing. Back 4 Blood and games like that, they feel like a generic zombie shooter that you just play for a little bit, but at some point just gets very boring. But with this, it has demon. It has soul in it. Anyways, I guess that's it for the video. Finally, this is my first time actually writing a script for the video and actually enjoying writing it and making it. It's maybe the first scripted video I've made that I'm actually going to release because I actually feel like it's going to age well. While Valve may not make Left 4 Dead 3, there's always going to be hope for this. But there's always going to be able to just enjoy the game. Wow. So if you want to get the game, please do. It's only, most of the time it's on sale for $1, and even when it's not, it's only $10. Come on, get it, please. Anyways, that's it for the video. If you liked it, please ask me if you want more, and I'll make more of these types of videos. But anyways, that's it. I'll see you all for later, and as always,